This is Marshall Shannon with Ministry Design Concepts. Thank you for joining us today as we're going to discuss leading your church through the renovation process. And so we're going to take an overview of the entire process from start to finish as you plan to renovate some part or all of your facilities. In these 5 phases, preparation and planning, design, construction, and facility management, you have to do each of them correctly because one builds on the other. In other words, if you don't prepare well, you can't plan very well. And designing builds on preparation and planning, and the building certainly builds on your design. And then how you manage your facilities after you're finished renovating it depends on how well you did all these. They're building blocks. So here's the saying, and it's my saying, it's adapted from others, but proper preparation, planning, and processes prevent poor performance. If my guesstimate is correct, anywhere near correct, that 70% of churches that wish to build fail. They start, they stumble, they stall. And when they're stalled out, they wait for a while and sit for a while, and then they'll restart and then stumble again and then stall out and then sit again. In order to keep you from going through that, this webinar is one of a number that will help you navigate your way through the process. So please listen carefully, take notes. We're giving you support documents and exercise tools and resources to go with this webinar so that you can prepare to lead your church as the leader. You want to lead your church through this. That's what it's designed to do. To explain the statement there that proper preparation, planning, and processes prevent poor performance is the understanding that during the preparation and planning stages, you have full control of the project. You don't have to release any decision to an industry professional until you engage with one under contract. But once you do, you start releasing your money and you start releasing the decision-making power over to the industry professionals. They're going to carry out your preparation and planning to produce a good design and build a good building that hopefully you can manage successfully for many years to come. But so just understand that this preparation and planning is an important part, and we spend a lot of time there in our webinars. Here's the first thing I would suggest that you do as you look at your ministry and you're trying to give long-range planning to it, and you have the idea that you need to repurpose an area and therefore renovate it, or you're going to take an existing area and you're going to update it. So you're going to retrofit it with all the latest technology, audio-visual lighting, maybe seating, change around some stage areas or seating areas, or your sound booth and video booth, and on you go. That when you decide that you need to do this, let me encourage you, the starting place is, of course, you need to pray this through to make certain that God's in it, or you stop it right there. So the first way that you vet a project, a renovation project, is it needs to be God's idea. That He wants you to do this, and you know it's critical, mission critical, to you fulfilling your calling as a church. So you want to evaluate your ministry, and I'm talking about your congregation. There is a difference between the doctor declaring us healthy, where we're free from disease and everything is functioning at a normal level. There's a difference between being healthy as a congregation and fit. The Olympic athletes that finished this summer, they were all healthy, but they certainly had trained to be fit for the task at hand. You need to examine your church and determine if they're fit, or perhaps just healthy, or maybe in some ways they're unhealthy, or they're dying, or dead. And so you need to look at that And you need to give yourself either a red light, a yellow light, or a green light. You can use services like the Lawless Group or Tag Consulting and purchase online, and they will provide you with the resources online and then hard copies to do a Healthy Church Index. And it goes through and explains a lot about, as it surveys your congregation to determine if they're healthy or not. Then you need to be able to explain your ministry design, your philosophy of ministry, your values, the mission God's called you to, the vision God's given to you for your ministry, and your strategic plan. But it also deals with the why. Why do you do what you do? You need to have that squarely understood, and your congregation, your volunteer staff, and your paid staff, your leadership, excuse me, needs to be in agreement philosophically with you. If they aren't, let me refer you back to the first point, ministry evaluation, healthy versus fit. You want to look at your processes. If you could do your ministry differently because you thought it would help you reach more people and maximize your effectiveness at serving Christ and making disciples, what processes would you delete, adjust, or add? You need to look at your ministry design, not only in your philosophy, but in your processes, your systems of what you're doing, and then your practice. Are you being effective? So are your systems effective, and is your service effective? And you want to make certain that you have yourself down, because you don't want to spend the money renovating a new auditorium or educational building or recreational or fellowship building or admin building or some other way that you're using your ministry, and it doesn't fit. So here's the rule. How you function as a ministry ought to dictate the form that the building takes. So before you renovate, take time to look at your ministry design. Now, I'm going to make a suggestion to you, and we help churches with this at Ministry Design Concepts do initial feasibility studies. So let's just pretend for a moment that you're sitting in your office or in your conference room with you and your key leaders, your elder board, your deacons, however your polity is set up. But it's you and your staff and your key leaders. And you're sitting and talking about this before you've ever formed a building committee. And you're going to have to vet whether or not it's a good idea to even start the process. And so here are some things that you can initiate to study whether or not it is possible, feasible for you to move ahead with renovating part or all of your facility. The first thing is, do you have enough money? So you need to take the tools that we've given you with this, the quick affordability tool, and you you look at how much money can you borrow? How much money can you raise? How much money do you have on hand, or things that you can liquidate to be cash reserves to add to it? Minus your debt. That equals your maximum affordability. Now, having said that, is just because you can afford to build $1 million doesn't mean that it's the best use of that money in the Lord's thinking about your ministry and your game plan. So you do feasibility studies. I just gave you one simple exercise. Then you look at your manpower. Your manpower is, do you have the staff and the people who are passionate and available, dependable, committed, that can help you do this renovation? Because it is going to absorb a good bit of energy from your church for you to make this happen. So you're going to draw on it, and from your church family. And do you have the manpower that you believe are equipped and available and suited and capable of carrying out this renovation? So you want to count that. And then ministry space. If you're going to renovate the space you've got, do you have enough space? And one way to do this is to take a tool we give you with the basic rule of thumb. Look at the age of the people that are using each space, divide the square footage by the number of square footage per person. So if you've got elementary age and you're guessing somewhere between 25 and 30 square feet per person, you've got 10 of them in 400 square feet, and you divide that 400 square feet by 25 and then 30. That'll give you a range of how many children can you get in there and the way that you are ministering. And so as you go through and do a ministry space feasibility study, you're trying to determine the bandwidth, that means the capacity and capability of your money, your manpower, and your ministry space. You're trying to tell where the ceiling is. How many people can you get on the campus at one time? How many people do you have ready to help you with the renovation that can actually add to it, invest in it correctly? And how much money are you capable of putting toward the renovation? You need to do this before you let the cat out of the bag or the idea out of your boardroom meeting, so that you've already got a pretty good idea before you go to your church family, if that's the way you do it, and recommend that they form a building committee and you put together a building committee. So before you let everybody know what you're planning on doing, I would tell you to work behind the scenes to begin telling how you're and if you can do this. Here's what happens. Here's why I say it. If you can take this metaphor for a moment, when a leader takes a church ministry, he has, so to speak, coins put in his pocket. And as he leads well, he can add coins or just keep the one he's got. But if you go start a building program that you quickly find out, or after some amount of investment of time and resources, you find out you can't do it, so you start, stumble, stall out, you're losing leadership credibility or coins out of your pocket. So I would think it would be better to vet the project on the front end as you examine how this renovation will fit in your ministry design, and do you have the money, manpower, and the space available to really make this happen. And then, are you healthy enough to start? If you have to go do some repair work in your ministry in order to get healthy enough to carry forward, then do that. There ought to be a clear purpose for the change that you're making, and you need to have some idea of the level of change that you're going to make to your facility. And I mean by that, and I've given you here some thoughts. Number one, are you just going to do the lowest level is restoration? Some churches need a good, thorough cleaning from top to bottom. They have cobwebs, dirt, and so forth all over. This is the lightest fixing up you'll ever do. You're not replacing windows or carpet or anything else. You're simply cleaning and polishing the existing structure, furnishings and fixtures and equipment to restore the health and condition of the existing facility. This requires the smallest amount of resources. Okay, so if that's all the change you're looking to make to your existing facility, then this is pretty light. You're just going to go through and steam clean the carpet. You're going to wash the walls down. You're going to change the light bulbs and clean the cobwebs out of the chandelier, or out of the 2x4 ceiling light that's in the hanging ceiling, the suspended ceiling. Or you're going to go, do whatever is necessary to make it clean. The second level is to refurbish, and this is where your church needs paint, new flooring, new furnishings, new fixtures, but the changes really are just cosmetic. This requires more time, money, and effort than restoring it, but there's more pain involved. It costs more money, of course, takes more people's time, and there's change bringing about because you may be getting rid of furniture that everybody's attached to. So there's an emotional pain that goes with the change. The third area is renovation. This level requires more than cosmetics and steps into replacing major systems: HVAC, electrical, plumbing, roofing, shingles, plywood, windows, major appliances, and so forth. It doesn't, if it doesn't require replacing all the things I just mentioned, it certainly is major repairing. The pain of change is more expensive, so you're renovating. So now you're into working with everything there. Then the fourth level of change, this is taking what exists and redesigning it so it looks and feels different, but the foundation and the basic structure remain the same. So if you think of house crashers or yard crashers or bathroom crashers on HGTV, they're redesigning it. I also would say to you that you could be removing walls or adding walls. While the structure is the same, your support walls are the same, you haven't added or deleted square footage, you've simply redesigned what is there, and it's a step above the renovation. It's all considered renovating, redesign and renovate. Then the last area, and you will be doing different here, but this is the where you replace, and this is the most extensive level. You exchange the old for the new. You move or demolish the existing church building and replace it with a new one from the ground up. This is, of course, the most expensive in every category. You need to have some idea as you look at your facility, some kind of judgment, and yet still this is just in-house with your paid staff and lay leaders, however your church polity is put together and structured, that you're trying to make certain, what is our purpose of change? Are we going to repurpose or just reuse? Are we going to retrofit what is here and update it, or are we looking to completely redesign the space and repurpose it for some other use? You need to have some idea in your ministry design what you think you ought to do during the preparation stage. So after you've done this and you have done your feasibility study, your due diligence, and you have been answering some key questions, or at least writing down the key questions so that you would have some idea of what you need to do next, let me ask you just to entertain some questions here as we continue with this. But you might want to ask yourself, what will happen if we do nothing? You just leave the auditorium like it's sitting. What will happen? Secondly, you might answer and come to some agreement as you start initially through this. What work do we want completed? Is it the auditorium that needs to be changed at some level, as we've just discussed? Then you go about asking, and you know you've got to answer these questions. What is the structural condition of the building? If it's at risk, your ministry is at risk. What is the condition of the roof, or the windows, the doors, the walls? What is the condition of the major systems of your building? Are they following systems up to repair regularly? HVAC, electrical, sprinkler, alarm, plumbing. Are you giving proper care to them, or are they in decline because you're not maintaining them correctly? Do you need to upgrade your audio, visual, lighting, and acoustics and other systems during renovation? So now we're not just dealing with the systems of mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and roofing and the structural integrity of your building. Now we're looking at the equipment, maybe in your kitchen, maybe in your auditorium, maybe educationally you want to put in TV monitors or the special new marker boards that are interactive, they're electronic. And you start looking at this, these are questions that you need to answer. How many people will the building be able to hold according to fire codes and 80% occupancy rate after the renovation? So if you renovate it, is that the best use of your money? Is it going to allow you to hold more people or fill up? Maybe your attendance is down and you're doing this because you want to make it more attractive. What will it cost to renovate the building? What would it cost if we didn't renovate, but we replaced it and built new? When do we want to plan on renovating? Are we going to be able to worship somewhere else or educate somewhere else or fellowship somewhere else while we're going through the renovation process? Are we going to have to borrow funds? And if so, how much do we think we're going to have to borrow? How much can we raise? Do you have major donors in the church that could pay for all of the renovation? So as you look at your congregation, what potential do you see there as you begin to count the cost of your financial capabilities, the bandwidth of your money? Are we pressed for time in finishing the renovation? Do we need to phase the renovation project into 1, 2, and 3 because of time or money? Are we going to use contractors that we've used in the past in the same delivery system, or would we like to change up who we worked with and how they delivered the project? Are we going to need an architect or just an engineer, or are we going to be able to do this without that? If we're going to bid it out to contractors, what delivery system are we going to use? Who's going to be the contact between the church and the industry professionals, the architect, the builder, the subcontractors, the suppliers, and on and on? Do we need to hire a professional project manager to serve in your behalf, to deal directly with the other industry professionals? When can you begin? How soon do you need to start this? And so all these and other questions come to mind as we go through this, and you need to know what the questions are so you can be working on the answers or lead your team that you're going to create and train, that which is on the screen. So you're ahead of them. So leaders, get in front of your renovation project so you can successfully lead them through the process. So we're going to create and train our teams. First thing is you're going to need to select them. So you're going to have to evaluate and enlist. So you're going to have to evaluate who is there. I've talked about this in a number of the other construction webinars, that you can evaluate them through placeministries.org or assessme.org, or you can create your own assessment tool through using a guide like Purpose Driven Life or Shape, which is a book that was written dealing with spiritual gifts, heart, abilities, personalities, and experience. But nonetheless, you're going to have to be able to discern who in your church is suited in every way, who has the right shape and abilities, capabilities, and then enlist them, recruit them to help you. So there's a selection process to this. Then you want to structure your teams. A renovation committee with subcommittees underneath it, and underneath answering to the subcommittees or work groups. We did a webinar on building committee structure that you can watch and learn from and use the documentation to help you structure your renovation committee. Then you've got to have a training time, a school time, where you're going to equip them and then engage them in leading and doing the work of the renovation project. Then you better supervise them and support them. That means you have to encourage these people, your church family, who have been trained and engaged in this. You need to encourage them. It's a hard thing to do. It's a frustrating process normally to go through a renovation. You want to empower them so they have the right amount of authority and responsibility to carry out their duties. And then you want to energize them. You want to inspire them. Vision inspires. Mission drives. Values glues everybody together with what's driving them forward with this renovation. That's why your philosophy of ministry is so important, because it's the glue that binds everybody together. Now, we'll move into the planning stage, and you want your building committee to establish a preliminary budget. Your budget can be broken down in your renovation process into 7 possible ways. And I've seen project budgets broken down into a bunch of different ways and very detailed. But to keep it simple for you, let me go through them, and we'll give you the documentation to go with this. You got design fees, you have site work fees, you've got the structure you have to build, you've got FF&E and extras, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and extras. You've got pre-construction, where you have to, if you borrow money, you got to pay interest only on your renovation. You've got permitting to do, and some other management things that can be placed underneath the pre-construction section of your budget. The 6th area is contingencies. On new construction, you may set aside 3 to 10%. On a renovation, you may decide to set aside 10 to 20%. Contingencies are monies that you've reserved for the unknown expenses and emergencies that happen to most every project. So your renovation, because there are so many unknowns, you go to tear a floor up, to re-pour the foundation or flooring, or tear into a wall or move a wall. Somebody else built that 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. You don't know if you're going to find Jimmy Hoffa's body or not. And so the contingencies are going to increase over new construction. So we're telling you that on the front end, before you've ever hired, you're engaged with your construction and design team, that you're giving some kind of thought to the budget and breaking it down. And I'll explain to you later why is that important. It's very important for you to follow rules of thumb, to come up with percentages or a range of expenditures so that everybody knows how much money you have to spend on the design process, the site work, the building itself, the furniture you're going to put in it, the cost of interest and everything that you're paying during construction, and the contingency money. Then the 7th thing is, if you bought some land for some reason while you were planning on renovating, that you've got that as a part of your total project budget. Now, as I said, we're giving you documents to go with this that are tools, exercises for you to fill out. You want to do some preliminary programming. We'll give you a programming sheet as well, but that's what people in what age group are using what space and how. That's your programming, so you can show how you're functioning in your existing building. 2 things: your existing programming. Then if you're going to start a new ministry, you need to project out how much space is that going to take per person. We're also giving you a rule of thumb of space per person, square footage per person. So as you look at your programming, you also need to do the 3rd thing. One is exactly how you're using every square inch, cubic inch of your facilities. Assign a square footage per person, divide the square footage of the space to find out 100% occupancy, how many people can it hold according to your rule of thumb square footage. 80% of that is where you'll grow to before you begin to roller coaster up and down in your growth in that ministry. Then if you're going to start a new ministry, that you've got to get some understanding of what kind of space that might take. And the 3rd one is you've got to do a growth rate projection. Is your educational facility, your ministries in there, as you look at them, assign a growth projection. They're going to grow 1% or 10% or 15% or 3% per year. So it helps us as we go through this to determine how long this renovation space is going to hold us. How long can we use it before we have to start using it multiple times? Or go build new space, or relocate, or go repurpose another part of your building. So you've got some programming to do. You've got documentation, as-built blueprints. When your building was designed, you had an original set of blueprints. When you built it, you most likely made changes to the structure, and as-built plans show those changes during construction. previous master plans of your site. If you had plans that showed a renovation master plan and that was how you were going to renovate, give those to and prepare to give those to your design team. Surveys, boundary survey, topographical survey. We've got a document we're given to you with this that shows and explains what these are and what the minimum requirements are, so that your surveyor and your architect will give you direction here, and I as a pre-construction navigator will give you direction here to help you prepare to work with the industry professionals. You need to be ready to provide these things for your design team. You've either got to select the delivery system or select the industry professionals. In other words, this is kind of a watershed moment in your planning as you have your in-house committees together, your preparation with your programming and your documents and your budgeting and your finances, and you've done your feasibility studies, you've got all your documents together, and now you're ready to select and engage with the industry professionals who are going to help you carry out the process. So, are you going to decide that you're going to do design build, or the traditional design bid build, or construction management, and you're only going to interview companies who offer the delivery system that you're planning on using to renovate your facilities? Or are you just going to go look for the best fit of a professional and take whatever delivery system they offer? You've got to navigate your way through this. And it can be exasperating if you don't know and the industry professionals don't know how to determine if they feel like they're a good fit for what you want. So you've got a decision to make there. Then in the performance, the industry professionals that you hire, the consultants, audio-visual lighting consultants, educational consultants, ministry consultants, pre-construction navigators, pre-renovation navigators like myself, capital stewardship consultants, lenders like mortgage brokers that are consultants. You've got to decide who you're going to engage with and what services your particular project will need. And you probably need to look at the size of your church and the strength of your finances, the scope and size and complexity of your project, and any other factors that would help you determine how many and what consultants you need. Then you've got a design team, an architect and engineers, landscape architect, interior designers, suppliers that are bringing in the furnishings and fixtures and equipment with it that are supplying those. They may have designers that go with it, contractors, both general contractors and subcontractors. But for instance, you may have audio, visual, lighting, and acoustical engineers, and then a separate company who is the fabricator. They build the system for your sound, lighting, and acoustical and video system, put it together, and they install it. And so they're a contractor. And you've got engineers, structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, AVLA, as we just mentioned. You've got suppliers. If you're renovating your auditorium and you're changing from pews to stackable padded chairs or to theater seating or some other kind of seating, that you've got suppliers that are bringing all this stuff in that you have to deal with them. Then lenders. If you're borrowing money, you've got industry professionals who are a part of your project that you're going to put this together, this team of people. So you have your in-house team and your industry professionals. Let me encourage you to consider doing this. Consider using a team approach where you've got someone like myself who is helping you put together your other consultants, selecting your architect, your builders, your engineers, your suppliers, engaging you and helping you with lending and options for that. You want to do this. Now, you're looking at renovating your facility. And so this is where you need to listen to me as I walk you through this. There are a lot of variables that happen during the renovation process. One of the things that you need to do on the front end is to get a grasp on the true condition of your facilities and grounds. Remember at the start of this, I told you to evaluate your congregation to see if healthy and fit, dying or dead. You need to do the same thing with trying to understand and get a grasp on the health or the fitness of your facility. And so you can perform any level of facility audit, determining what is appropriate, and your industry professionals should be able to guide you there with that to decide what you're going to do. So let me just walk you through some levels here. There is the observation level where, for instance, when you bought your first home, your second home, your third home, you bought a home and you had a house inspector that was required to inspect your home before the seller could close on the deal with the buyer. And he would walk through and look at your roof and your structure and your hot water heater and your furnace and your air conditioner and your electrical box panel and a bunch of other things that he would take pictures of and check off. He wasn't fixing anything. He wasn't even telling you how much money it was going to cost, perhaps. He was just doing a walkthrough observation. He was taking a look-see, if you will, to see what he could see without tearing into any walls or the floor or through the roof. He was looking to observe what he could see with the naked eye. And he will give you a report on that. A house inspector or a commercial or church inspector is doing that kind of observation and telling you what they see. They're trained to see and to report what they see. Then you've got a next level up is identification. Identification is where they identify a problem with the system. And so when they do that and say, we tested and looked, it looks like your HVAC is very, very old. It looks like it's 40 years old, and that it's got some real signs of wear and tear, and we think that it doesn't have much life left. That's an identification. An investigation is where they go and test it to see how many years it has left and if it's functioning as it was designed at the level of economy and the output of it. So it's investigating. Then there's a determination phase where now they have to determine replace it or repair it, and then cost estimate as to what it's going to cost to do it, and then a repair schedule. So as you can see here, as you look at your facility, depending upon the condition of it, it tells you how far you're going to have to go to determine if you're going to have to replace or just repair HVAC and so forth. So let me break it down for you into three steps or issues here. You need to audit your systems, your structure, your roof, your windows, your doors, your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, meaning your water and sewer, your hot water heater, your heat and air, your ventilation, your fire safety, your electrical room, your kitchen with all the equipment that is in there. Is that all working correctly? Your information technology infrastructure. On and on, you're looking at your systems in your building. The second way to look at this is to go throughout your facility to look at the different ministries, so ministry divisions. So systems first, ministry divisions, where you're looking at your children's educational, your worship, children's worship, maybe other groups you've got in your main worship, your administration, maintenance, your fellowship area, your recreation area. So all these different areas, you're going through ministry by ministry 24/7 and looking at how the building is serving and what condition and how is the condition of it serving each group. So you're trying to do a comprehensive, exhaustive examination of your facility so you can identify problems, investigate what's wrong, determine what it's going to cost and who needs to do the work and how much work is going to need to be done, replacing or repairing what you've got, get a cost estimate, and then schedule the repairs after you've recruited and selected and taken bids to get the building brought up to condition. So as you're looking at this, the third area that you need to consider, along with your systems and then your ministry divisions, as you go throughout your ministries in your church are safety issues. Safety issues are like lead-based paint, asbestos, mold, and so forth. So as you look at these things, um, you're trying to determine, and you have within the facility audit, they'll test for mold, they'll test for asbestos, they'll test for lead, and you need to count the cost of what that renovation is going to do as you go through the process. So you're engaging with companies that can, at whatever level you think you need or is recommended by your renovation team, you're going to have the facility audited. Then you've got work. For instance, consultants might deal with your ministry design work that I do, or the pre-renovation process, leading you through the process, or capital stewardship consultants, fundraising, or lending, or your systems like audio-visual lighting, or some other consultant that would deal with the instruments you use in your worship, and on and on you go. But the architect and the engineers should be looking at your code, because you've got to determine by the codes and then getting a builder to help you with a guesstimate, a cost estimate on the true dollar output that you're going to have, because you've got some codes, international building codes, that come into play and are written out that your industry professionals are to master, so they can advise you as to whether or not it's cost effective to renovate that space at the level you're talking about. Here's what I'm saying. If you go to renovate part of it, your local building authorities may make you bring everything up to code. So they make you put in sprinkler systems where there aren't any, doors that are larger or different, or ramps, and you go through the codes and there's pages of it. You need consultation on the front end of this as you determine the condition of your flock, the condition of your facilities, and the funds that it's going to take to make this happen. So you're orchestrating in the preparation and planning stage, you're orchestrating this in gateways. First gateway is for the internal lay leaders and your paid staff who are leading your ministry are going to go through and vet the project. Now you've brought the industry professionals in, and they're going to vet the project, and you're counting the cost. So you're not spending any more money than you absolutely is necessary to vet the project and take you to the next step. You move from the preparation and planning stage to that of the design stage, and the design stage is broken into two parts: the master plan stage and the construction drawing stages. So if your renovation is of the size and scope that you're required to have an architect and engineers involved in it to do it, then you're going to have a design phase where you're going to have to do a master plan. A master plan for a renovation process can look different than a master plan for brand new facilities being put on your facility, on your property. And so as you look at this, you master plan it. The church has to provide certain information for the design team: programming and project budget, ministry design, long-term vision for your campus. You've got to provide these so they know what they're renovating for within the design, how what you're doing now with this first renovation, if it's broken into phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, then you need to know what prioritize through the process. Who is this first phase going to serve? What ministries are going to benefit from it? Who's going to use the space, and what are we going to do with it? But you have to provide the programming and the budgeting and your financial capabilities, set a ceiling on how much money you're going to spend, break it into the project budget so they know as money is allocated in our budgeting to this thing, and this thing. Your ministry design is done explaining who you are as a church, what you're called to do, how you're called to do it, and what your game plan is. So as you go through and answer those questions, and you want to tell the design team, your renovation team, this is what how our ministry looks. This is the design of our church congregation, of our ministry. It's how we function. So they can design the renovation to be the right form to let you function within your building. A long-term vision for your campus. This is a document we'll provide with this, so that as you look at renovating space, how does that one part, that one renovation phase, how does it fold into or weave into your long-range vision for your campus? And that's the full development as you see it, or as you believe God sees the development of your church on your campus. What does that look like? Then there's information as you go through the master planning stage that the architect is going to provide. He's going to give you a site plan, floor plans, elevations of this new renovation, what it's going to look like, what the floor plan is going to be like. He's going to give you some presentation options. You're going to do an artist rendering, or are you going to do a full 3D video representation with music and narration and fly around and through the renovation so people can see it? You've got options. And your architect should give these to you, or with the presentation operation of the 3D video, he can perhaps, or I can, direct you to a company who can do that for you. Along with the design phase, the master planning, comes your money. That's cost estimating. I would encourage you to get a builder involved who's done renovation work and can correctly estimate the renovation because he's doing it at other places. Create a project budget. So now you know what the total project budget is, broken into categories. Fundraising results. So we're looking at a gateway here. You've correctly estimated the cost of the renovation. You've budgeted and broken it down into categories. You've got the results of your pledges taken from your capital campaign for your renovation project. You've secured a letter of commitment from your lender, so you have security that you're going to be able to get the money from the bank, from the lender, that you believe you will. So you secure a letter of commitment. During the design phase, you're going to have construction drawings. So after you have your pledges, your money in hand, your lending capability minus your debt, plus your master plan and your phase one floor plan showing exactly what you're going to do, and it's designed in detail, you're going to release the architect and his engineers to develop construction drawings. The lion's share of your design fees that you pay are going to go toward the construction drawings that are done in 30, 50, 55, 65, 70, 85, and 100% done. That your architect will walk you through how they, in particular, schedule their work as they go through. While they're doing that, you're estimating the cost with your builder, and you're continuing to work on the planning that you've done to revisit it. And you put lots of eyeballs on your design to make certain that you have planned and designed this renovation to fit exactly what is mission critical, and you've tried not to forget anything, leave anything out of, any ministry or any need out of that renovation plan. So the construction drawings are going to look at the structural and the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, fire protection, and other things, audiovisual lighting, IT infrastructure. The interior designer is going to be involved there helping with things. So, on and on you go. Civil engineer. He is dealing with everything outside the walls of the building. And so you may be forced to look at some of those things. Interior design, audiovisual and lighting, and technology are all involved in the construction drawings. So you end up with a complete package where this team has worked together, hopefully from the start, if you do what I'm recommending, so that you're getting the best use of every industry professional that is involved in your project is brought in at the right time to give their consultation, to do their design work, and then to have installers or fabricators to put it together. You're going to confirm, this is the second gateway, third gateway actually. You're going to confirm the total final project budget. So these construction drawings are done, and you've been estimating the cost and putting the pieces together of your design work, and now you're going to go through and make certain if you're right. So you're trying to make certain before you put this thing out to bid or to start construction that you have vetted it once again. And this is another gateway to keep you from spending any more money than you should, because churches stumble at any part of this process that I'm giving you through poor planning and poor preparation. Then there's the construction phase, where you get permitting for your renovation. You may be taking bids on all the different aspects. If you use the traditional or construction management, you could have gone through the design and now you're bidding it out. And then you're going to release the selected contractors to do their work. So they're engaged. You've got contracts, and now they're going to work. Then you're going to manage the construction process with the general contractor, the architect, and the local building inspectors from your government authorities. And you're going to go through the construction process. In your case, the renovation process. And you're working with them. This part, you need to have a contact person who can help you during this process, to be the one person who is working with the contractor, the architect, and the building inspectors in order to get the job done correctly. It's a lot. You may consider, if your project is large enough and the scope is complicated enough, you may benefit by hiring a project manager who perhaps has been in the industry, I would tell you, for years, is a general contractor, commercial, has done renovations, and he serves as the church's representative, and he works with the architect, the general contractor, and the building inspectors to save you money and heartache and money and ministry and momentum. I talk about that in one of the webinars pretty thoroughly with that. It's hard to find it because you're going to have to pay the project manager to be there full time if your project's large enough, and he's the owner's rep. So I do pre-construction navigation, but I do not provide project management as I'm describing here. But you can, if you can find someone that you know that is willing to take a pay cut, a salary cut for that year or 6 months, and provide management in behalf of the church. Or you can use a construction manager, pure agency, or at risk, who is your agent under contract, to work directly with the architect and the subcontractors and do it that way. That is another way to make it happen. The last phase in the renovation process is facility management. Here you're going to have a warranty period, and you're going to have to develop a budget for managing your facilities. You're going to have to develop staff, either lay staff or paid staff or both, to care for and manage your facility during the warranty period and for the rest of time until the Lord comes back. Then you're going to have to develop plan and procedures for your facility management. So this is a part that often is let go. It isn't done correctly, but you need to give thought to. You need to develop operational manuals. You need to develop maintenance schedules. You need to manage the warranties. Some are longer than a year, so that you can properly steward your facilities as God has entrusted them to you, as their own loan from God. You need to steward them. Now, let me say something to you about renovation or new construction. The cost of building spread out over 40 years in the life cycle of a building, the money you borrow, the financing of your renovation project, and the construction of your renovation with the design fees and the builder's fees and all the cost of it is only about 30% of the total cost of a building over 40 years. 70% of the cost of that building is the custodial and maintenance and insurance and utilities and on, the use of that building as a capital overhead cost. And so it will do you well to analyze the life cycle, and that means the life expectancy of your HVAC and how economical it is. There are shear ratings to tell you how economical the HVAC is going to perform in your building. All those things have to be managed. Well, it affects how well you can manage your facility once your project is done. I trust as you go through this renovation, the Lord will give you wisdom in every aspect. I'm Marshall Shannon. I'm your pre-construction navigator with ministry design training, ministry design concepts. You can reach me at marshall@ministrydesignconcepts.com, our office number and cell phone number. I trust the Lord's blessing on you as you consider moving through with it. You might look at some of the other renovation webinars that we've provided for you so that you can look at the other aspects, because it's a daunting task and one in which churches often are not prepared to tackle.